What is up, everybody? We are back with another episode that is sponsored by Tokyo Treat, and we want to invite you guys to experience a little box of Japan in your own home. So this is a monthly snack subscription. So it comes with up to 20 different snacks each month. So it's kind of like your Spotify or Netflix subscription. Also, food though. Like, how can you go wrong?
So this month's theme is New Year Snack and Party. Celebrate the New Year with Tokyo Treat's New Year Snack and Party box. It's filled with snacks inspired by Japan's Oshogatsu, or New Year's holiday, such as Lucky Red and White Kit Kat, Agemochi, or deep fried mochi snacks, Itomen I thought this said Yowaimo.
Yowaimo!
Yamaimo, soba, and many, many more.
Open that up here. Looks like we got some treats. New Year Snack and Party 2024. So I've mentioned it before. I'm going to say it again. Tokyo Treat is an awesome partner, and we were so excited to have them reach out to us. This was a brand that we were all already familiar with before they had done so. I think that's probably the case for a lot of American anime fans because it's such a convenient service to have like some of these snacks that are either mentioned in the shows or just easily available in Japan and have those shipped directly to your home. Tom and I did that for a long time during the pandemic, and we loved every single box that we opened. We got to eat them while we were watching some anime, and now we've had a couple ourselves. Here's the Hashira Half Hour, and it's also really fun to just open it and share it with your friends right away, which is what we're going to do right now.
It is like a little treasure chest every month. Like, you open it and then you just see like entire things, but I always go for the Kit Kats first because I just love Japanese Kit Kats. They're so good.
They're always so good. And it comes with the little pamphlet, the little brochure, which is always really helpful because you'll notice that many of these snacks are not printed with English names or nutrition facts. And so these two might have a little bit of better luck looking at that than I might. I still need to definitely brush up my Japanese. But for people like me, the brochure is great because it shares all of that information printed in English for you so that you can take a look and see like not only what the snacks are, but what the dietary restrictions, if any, might be. So if you're a vegetarian, you can check what might be in here. And that's pretty cool. Oh, and there's a nice letter here. Hey Tokyo Treat fam, Happy New Year from our crew to yours. Whether it's awaiting popular Lucky Bags, eating soba noodles or mochi, or jamming to the most popular live singing show, Japan has lots of special New Year's traditions. That's why we're super excited to bring you a taste of Japan during one of the biggest events of the year. We packed this box full of our fave snacks inspired by Japan's Oshogatsu, or New Year's holiday. So grab your best sparkly outfit and 2024 glasses because it's time for a New Year's snack and party.
Woo!
All right.
Fun.
If you're interested in getting your own little slice of Japan in a box, getting your own subscription, you can use the link in our bio that is going to be taking you right to the website where you can actually order your own subscription box, and then you can use code Hashira
for $5 off your first box. Let's do it. Let's ring in 2024 with Tokyo Treat.
Itadakimasu!
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 Happy holidays, everyone. We hope you are having a wonderful holiday season and getting some much needed time away from the trauma that is the Shibuya arc, just like we have. So we do apologize for the delay in episodes as we celebrated the holidays with our friends and family, but we are here and we are ready, and I am joined as always by my wonderful friends.
Yo, what up? It's me, the Grass Hashira, the treasure of the Shibuya arc, Maharaga, aka the sadness of the entire Shibuya arc, but also Megami's savior. So I don't know where that puts me in life.
Fair enough. Hi guys, happy to be back. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you celebrate. I hope that everyone's able to get some well-deserved rest because it's been a long and fast year, as we were just discussing. I can't believe that season 2 of JJK has been ongoing for about 6 months now. That's honestly kind of gross. But also, what a great season of TV. I'm so happy that we got to discuss it here for you all and that we get to be here to see it. I think that that's so cool. So I'm excited to jump in.
To quote the great mechanic in Avatar: Last Airbender, I think that's who it said. I need to watch it again. Time is an illusion, and so are pants. And with that, let's dive into the episode. So this episode was pretty wild, but we picked up right where we left off with Yuji and Todo versus Mahito. They are now outside in Shibuya Square, and Mahito is excitedly stating, "This will be the last time we curse each other, Itadori Yuji." Which Todo is not too happy about this comment. He's like, "Are you leaving me out here? Stop leaving me out," because he's getting some work done. Todo and Yuji make such a good team, don't they?
They are so perfect for each other. They are like the two village idiots that also are like the two strongest characters standing currently in Shibuya. And it's like Yuji is obviously like tormented by like some trauma that's been going on in the last several episodes here. Todo, however, is not really afflicted in the same way in this moment, so dare I say he's like bringing humor to the scene, and that I feel like that's something that we as the audience have needed, a tiny glimmer of hope. And in him bringing the humor and making it a little bit more lighthearted, it gives us like this sense of hope that Mahito can be defeated, because Todo's not even like super taking it seriously yet. He's so confident in the ability of him and his braza to be able to take him out that it's like almost a joke. So I love the two of them together, and I think Todo constantly like is able to inspire or like solicit a response from Yuji to do better. And he's not going to get left behind in this. He's got to show off for his little brother.
Gotta give rep to Aoi Todo. First off, wearing my Vesto Friendo sweater. So that's a start. So bought that off a TikTok shop. There's so many good stuff on good stuffs on TikTok shop. Oh my god. It's the worst. But it's also the best. So careful with yourself on that one, okay? Nonetheless, they're such a good dynamic duo. Like when you look at like iconic duos from anime, I feel like these two are really going to be something that kind of comes to mind as like great things when you like look back on this show. Like looking at kind of, we talked about Avatar The Last Airbender. While it's not technically an anime, it's an anime from Burbank, California, not from Japan, okay? We'll call it that. But like Aang and Zuko is a really good duo that I always think of. But I think this is a really different one because they're so similar yet different in their own ways. It's almost like a juxtaposition of being the village idiots. Like one village idiot is learning from the other, but like they're also extremely dumb in the sense that the way they do things is just so childish, but it works. Like they're like, "Are you gonna be better, my besto friendo, or are you gonna be left behind?" And he's like, "I will not be left behind." And it's just like so good because you can't help but laugh at how simply inspiring it is, kind of like Emily said, of Aoi to be like, "I'm just gonna hype myself up and therefore hype up my little guy." So I don't know, I just love the two of them so much.
I totally agree. They're so fun. And as I was rewatching this episode, it hit me that they both have like, they're both super strong. And I just started rewatching Jujutsu Kaisen as my husband prepares to watch Shibuya. And I forgot in season 1, in the first episode, they really explain that Yuji is like over strong compared to like the average human being. So I just love that they have that dynamic. And also I love the two super himbo characters that share one brain cell in a social aspect but are super smart in the battlefield and work so well together. I love any type of those dynamics. You know, I love Tanjiro and Inosuke too. Like they also have that same one brain cell, and then we're actually really smart. So one of my favorite things in anime is that they always manage to put those two silly boys together, and I can't get enough of it. But moving on, Mahito creates, and I'm calling this a Titan because I can't exactly remember what he called it, but he creates his own Titan because that's what it looked like to me, and the sound that it made when it ran reminded me so much of the Armored Titan. It like made me laugh. But he creates this Titan, and because of it, Todo and Yuji kind of have to split up briefly. Todo says that the split from Mahito is a grade 3 or a weak grade 2, but this split soul, I guess you could call it, is still able to land a hit on Todo, which I think was like one of the first hits we actually see him take since he showed up. He's briefly surprised by it, but is very quickly able to deal a killing blow, which also surprised him. But then he mentions that these splits are designed only for offense, meaning if he hits hard enough, they die instantly. And then there's a few more that come up, and he says a quick, "Forgive me, you pitiful souls." Is Mahito getting weaker, or is this something that you think he's still planning here? Let's kind of talk that out.
It's hard to say. Is Mahito getting weaker or is he getting cocky? That's, I think, the question there. Because when you look at it, right, like anyone who's gone through, how many fights has he gone through now, right? He's helped kind of fight Gojo. And again, this is all in the same night, so it's really difficult to kind of like think, is he really just getting tired at this point? Because there was Nanami, there was Nobara, there was Gojo, and there was the entire chase scene between Yuji and Nobara. So it's just very difficult to discern, like, if he's like, I've survived all of these, or if it's just, he's like, whew, I need a breather.
Well, I might even be jumping ahead a little bit here, but I do think Mahito's getting weaker because of like what his technique is not something that's limitless. And I think that probably is the downfall of most everybody's cursed techniques in the show, like with the exception maybe of Gojo, who would have to really go for and that's why he got like KO'd immediately in this season, because they knew that. They knew that they couldn't stand a chance, but like Mahito's cursed technique is like this soul multiplicity, but he pulls those from somewhere. Like all these like cursed beings, he either has to change them, and presently there's like no human beings around to currently change, or he's like able to unleash something from like within, and he's used a lot of that already. I think he's running low on supply here. And when he becomes just like the shell that's left, like his technique is not super useful unless he can kind of like get more like, and if he can't lay a hand on Yuji or Todo, then his techniques don't really work that well. It's kind of like just parrying. So I do think that he's running low on gas here, especially like after such a huge transformation and like display of his power. Like that might be a lot of what he has left.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's maybe a little bit of both. I think that he's still very cocky just based off of the way he's talking. He seems almost like he's always acted very crazy and just wild, but he seems like he's going another level of craziness. And I almost saw it as he didn't think that Todo was strong enough to handle them the way that he did. So he sent them what he thought was going to be difficult, and Todo just proved to be stronger than what he thought, because he just keeps kind of like, he obviously knows Todo is important and helping Yuji, and he's kind of an annoyance to Mahito, but I feel like he's still very much underestimating him this whole time, which could be his downfall in the future. We'll see. After we see Todo, going after this, we move back to Yuji and Mahito briefly, who are going all out with each other. Another fantastic fight scene. This season has really just been amazing. Again, another props to these animators for the work that they're doing. But we quickly see Todo reappearing, surprising Mahito. He is surprised that Todo was able to beat his split souls, and honestly, almost it seems like backed into a little corner here for a moment. He mentions not being able to use his domain expansion due to the fact that he could touch Sukuna and die. Like, what happened in season 1 was pretty intense. However, because of what Gojo did earlier in Shibuya, which for us was 6 months ago, for Mahito was just like an hour ago, Mahito decides to go for it. 0.2 second expansion as his final play. Wow.
Yeah, this isn't good. It's a huge gamble, because we've seen Sukuna's temperament every time he's come out, and like even Sukuna's interaction with Jogo, like he's not interested in whatever game these like small fries in his mind are playing. He has no reason to be bothered with it. So honestly, like the odds are pretty high that like if he's gonna like dare to touch Sukuna, like he's going to be killed immediately. But he's like gambling on like the possibility that maybe he won't die somehow, or that even if he does, that expanding his domain even for the 0.2 seconds will be enough to take out Yuji and Todo, which will still get them closer to the goal that their ringleader has in mind, is, to crush humanity and get these like essentially warriors of humanity out of the way. So this isn't good. It's a gamble, and we don't know which way it's going to go.
Ryoiki Tenkai. Jihen Donka.
Good job.
That's Mahito's. Arigatou gozaimasu. I'm still learning Japanese. I'm on day 80. Today will be day 85 of Duolingo. It's not Duolinga.
What?
as I always say. Nonetheless, I find the parallelism of this just to be so ironic that he's like, Gojo did this for 0.2 seconds, huh? Seems interesting. Let's try it out. Like, that was just so, I don't know how to describe it, but it felt like, wow, he's really smart, but it also felt like really bad because obviously he's the bad guy. And again, as the Mahito lover on the show, like, I love his character design, love the way that, like, he's the embodiment of hate, but also I was like, ooh, forgot about that part. And he would, like, open his domain, and it was really genius, to be honest. I think that really that was kind of his only way to move forward because, you know, like, as we've kind of talked about, like, domain expansion is really the, like, end-all be-all in Jujutsu sorcery or sorcery fights. So I think it's just an interesting way that he really just kind of grew in his own right. Like, we don't ever talk about how villains grow in fights or how they can adapt as well as our heroes do. And I think that this was a really interesting way to demonstrate, like, just as much as, like, the good side of the coin will grow in a fight, just as much the villains will as well.
It's funny you bring up, like, we focus on heroes being able to grow during a fight, but we forget about villains. And I keep seeing this joke go around on social media about Jujutsu Kaisen, where people are like, Jujutsu Kaisen forgot about plot armor because so many shows have that for their main characters, right? And Jujutsu Kaisen is just like killing off main characters left and right. And people are like, no, they didn't forget about plot armor. For some reason, they decided to give it to the villains. I was like, you know what? Honestly, kind of feel that currently. That might change. You never know. Information on what I'm gonna do next to come. But anyway, he does go for it. The boys act immediately, though. Todo activates a simple domain that he learned from Yuki Tsukumo, and Yuji acted even faster and just started running straight at him to exercise him before he unleashed Idol Transfiguration. Unfortunately, though, Mahito still has a few tricks up his sleeve. He activated his domain faster than Yuji could run. So the way they explained it in the show was the activation of an innate domain is usually followed by the activation of a technique. But he merged the two steps into one because of his awakened state that followed Black Flash. So yeah, he is a little more crazy now than he has been in the past, and this kind of solidified that thought for me. He does briefly interact with Sukuna, where he mentions he will kill Yuji before Sukuna can switch with him. Why can't Mahito just die and leave? I don't want him here anymore.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to see the way that Mahito persists through this fight. It's really, I think it stays true to his character that, like, the embodiment of hate will always be there in some shape or form. And I think Mahito even saying at the very beginning of this that Yuji, this will be the last time we curse each other, he's gonna make it count. Like, he knows that either, and I think that the audience might take that as like, oh, like, he's like really intent on killing Yuji right now. No, I think he also knows that the probability of him losing this fight is as equal as it is for him to win this fight. So I think that there's a lot on writing on this for Mahito, so that's why he can't just die. It's like he needs to give it his all because he wants to make this worth something, even though prior he said, like, maybe at one point I won't even remember you. I think that's kind of a bluff.
It's time for Mahito to go. I admit that, like, when I first saw and read this, I was surprised that Sukuna didn't immediately kill him and that there was even a chance for this like, I thought maybe it was gonna happen to him before he even realized what was going on. And to have, like, so much audacity to speak to Sukuna that way when, like, essentially that's, like, his king or what, his god, almost. But I did think it was funny, especially, like, getting to see it animated now for the first time, how indifferent Sukuna seems to be. And because he could easily take him out, like, easily could wipe out Mahito, but he's like, Mahito's talking all big, and he's like, I don't even need to, because this meat suit that I'm wearing, this kid Yuji, is strong enough to take you out, like, on his own. I don't even need to do anything. You're not even worth my time. You're so small. So, like, good luck with that. We'll see. We'll see what actually ends up happening. So I thought this was a really interesting interaction, but the innate domain is not good. Even with Yuji trying to step up, I don't know. This I don't know how this is gonna go.
Sukuna doesn't even say anything. Mahito's
No.
like taunting him. He's like, I'm safe, aren't I? You have a plan. You always do. You plan to switch out with him, but I'll kill him before you can do that. And Sukuna just is like, which I'm like, there's something going on inside his head too, I think. I don't know what's gonna happen here, but that whole scene was very interesting to me because I'm like, why is Sukuna not saying anything? He's just like, he doesn't like Mahito. He's just letting him do what he's doing. It was weird. It was weird.
It's like he's like listening to a child throw a tantrum.
Yeah, and he's just like choosing to not engage because I don't.
Mahito, catch a bubble, catch a bubble. I know we're having a big feeling, but when we have big feelings, we can kind of whisper that one and let it go to the wind.
Either that or I will
Gentle
chunk you
parenting.
into a million pieces.
Oh,
Gentle parenting, Mahito. We love to see it.
I mean, Sukuna doesn't respond, so Mahito is using his domain now, and the first thing he does inside the domain is try to take out Todo, who he quickly reacted, but he lost a hand because of it. And I was like, oh, frick, that's not good because of his technique. Mahito tries to hit him with Black Flash. However, Todo focused all of his energy into his stomach where he took the hit, or all of his cursed energy. And Mahito goes in for the kill anyway, breaking Todo's necklace, and then Todo proceeds to have this like idol moment. I honestly have not laughed this much over a scene for this entire season, so thank you for throwing in some comedy here.
So needed, but also I think just goes to show again like how much Todo is like not super taking this seriously yet. This was so damn funny. Like, because the last thing I think that especially any anime onlys would be expecting in this, and this was like not like this in the manga either. It's like this scene that's like kind of long actually for like what it is. This big like pop star transformation. There he is with his future girlfriend. The pop idol that also holds the other place in his heart right next to Yuji, and like this pink power-up scene. And I'm like, this is like crazy that because he is so strong, and like if he did actually play things completely serious, he probably would be a force to be reckoned with, but he can like still do this much even when he is acting like a total goon. This was so damn funny. I loved it. I loved every single second of it, and I love him.
Yeah, I think that the scene was literally, I'm just going to say it right now, this was my favorite moment of this episode. I'll give a secondary shout out later, but oh my god, was this just so good. Like, first off, putting him in his, like, putting him in a Sailor Scout outfit was just amazing. I think that was really funny, and I don't know if Sailor Moon, like, started the trend, or if it was Neon Genesis that started, like, that trend where, like, the camera pans around the character, and you see all of, like, the clothes going up. But, like, this was just everything I wanted and more. Because this season has been so much back-to-back. Like, it's just such a needed piece of humor. I even saw some comments towards the animator on this one that people didn't like this scene. If you didn't like it, why? What was there not to like? Like, this scene was just pure camp in every single moment, and it's what this show needed. Like, I get it, it's the dark trio, yep, but also, like, you can't just have constant darkness, even if you are a part of the dark trio. Like, there has to be balance in every show, and I think this really brought some of that balance back. And I think it's like a palate cleanser almost for the entire season. It's like, okay, we've been going at this really hard. Like, even some of the other episodes have had small moments like this, but this is the time they really let it shine. Like, there was a moment in the Nobara fight where, like, Mahito made like a really stupid face out of nowhere, and it was like, okay, that's a laugh that we needed. So I think it was just a really well-placed and well-timed scene as well, just to kind of give you that, like, little, like, oomph in your palate.
I can say as an anime only, I was not expecting it at all. When his necklace broke and, like, fell down, I thought he was about to do, like, a rage power-up. Not an idle moment power-up. I literally was sitting there, I was like, did I accidentally, like, take something?
Hannah thinking she's tripping. Oh my god.
So funny.
But I loved it. And to anyone who's like, oh, that was dumb or I didn't like that, like, just get off your high horse, man. Come on. Just enjoy anime. There's going to be aspects that you don't like. That doesn't mean you have to get on the internet about it. But anyway, I won't rant about that today. It was hilarious, and I was not expecting it. I like how they had to specify this whole thing was Todo's imagination. But I think the hits that he landed were not, so, there's at least that. But jokes aside, he was able to get in some crazy hits, and he sacrifices his other hand to activate his technique against Mahito when Mahito went in for the kill by hitting his hand with his other hand, and it, ended up all kind of, burnt or whatever that looked like. This stuns Mahito enough that Yuji, who was switched when Todo activated it, is able to land another Black Flash. I can't keep track of who's doing Black Flash now. Against him. Yes! Woo! Now Todo is out now. But wow! Again, the teamwork. That had me tearing up this time after the moment of confusion.
I think this was really interesting because watching this scene, it was really sad. Because even at the top of the mountain, he was like, even though my boogie woogie is dead, it's like, I will still prevail, kind of in that idle moment. And then he still figures something out. I think this kind of echoes what we were saying earlier about village idiots, but also, insanely smart. Yes, his technique won't work on his own anymore, but, imagine in the middle of the fight, you get a high five, and then all of a sudden you're getting, clocked in the stomach. That's just insanely hilarious to start, but also it is extremely smart because you can't just think of these things on the fly, and most people can't do that. And so watching again this really already powerful sorcerer grow in a fight is amazing, and I think it's really fun to watch as we get closer to, of course, what the climax of this fight is going to be, seeing how our heroes are going to take us there.
Yeah, absolutely. This teamwork was incredible, especially knowing that, despite how much they enjoy each other's company, as far as we've seen on screen, they've actually, Todo and Yuji have spent very little actual time together to, develop this level of trust and camaraderie. And so it really was just something that was, instant, and that they're able to, read each other and communicate silently, essentially, in the battlefield to pull off a move like this, and to catch Mahito off guard. And knowing that this is moving as fast as it's moving, that these two, even though they are the village idiots, are able to carry out a plan like this without speaking more quickly than Mahito can put two and two together. So, as funny as they are, as goofy as some of the sequences are, I think that this particular combination of their two powers really solidified just how strong and smart these two actually really are, and that they probably stand the best chance together against Mahito out of anyone else that we've seen go up against him so far in the season. So this was awesome. I loved it.
They might have one brain cell, but at least they share it.
Exactly.
So they're on the same page at all times. Yeah, it was really crazy to just see that all unfold right after just the hilarious moment. And then all of a sudden, Yuji is giving him a black flash. It was like, yes. And because of that, Mahito feels it seems like he's less confident now. He's kind of like, whoa, wait, what? But that quickly changes because that's what Jujutsu Kaisen loves to do with us. So you can feel one thing and then literally 2 seconds later, we're like, no, never mind. But he suddenly exclaims that that he finally grasped the true essence of his soul. And he transforms into his final, I think, form. Instant spirit body of distorted killing. The name is creepy, and he looks creepy, I can just say. Yuji won't back down, though. As soon as he transforms, he's throwing it down no matter what. And we get another absolutely chef's kiss, fantastic fight scene. Each one is pulling out all the stops. Yuji realizes he has to unleash another Black Flash to defeat him. But we get a message stating that no sorcerer can unleash Black Flash at will, which I was a little bit surprised by because I feel like it's been thrown around a lot already. So I was like, wait, what? But once again, they're at it, pulling out all the stops, like I said. Mahito does mention that he thinks Yuji can pull out Black Flash at will in the state that he is in. let's chat about that fight scene. Just
I mean, just another incredible sequence here. As we've stated in almost every episode, the animators that have worked on this show have, just like our characters, pulled out all the stops for everything. And, like, again, everything that's happened in this episode is no exception. And we have to imagine also, like, how Yuji as a character is probably willing to risk everything to try to win this fight, because, like, what else does he have to lose at this point? You know, he's seen his mentor die, essentially one of his best friends in a suspended state of death. He knows that, like, Gojo is sealed. He doesn't know where Megami is, but, like, we as the audience know that didn't look very good the last time that we saw him. So Todo's kind of like the one that's there with him, and I think that Yuji's willing to also take a gamble here, the way that Mahito was with his domain expansion. So even if it's going to require that he surpasses his limits, I think he's going to go for it. And I think that that's, like, clearly illustrated in the pacing and the movement and, like, kind of the horror that's in this particular fight scene. Mahito is, like, aware and showing that true form, that final form, like we've said, and Yuji has to he has to take this the most serious. Even if Todo's being kind of goofy, and it's been kind of goofy so far, Todo's now kind of down for the count because neither of his hands are doing very well. And so Yuji's going to have to take this on his own, and he does a hell of a job. It's so cool.
Yeah, watching Yuji just go in after kind of getting through with that, I think it's really nice to see, because throughout Shibuya, he hasn't really won a fight besides the locust spirit that was, like, in episode 2 or 3.
feels
The
so
rest
long
of the
ago.
time, he's been taking fat L's. Like, Mahito with Nanami, Mahito with Nobara, Choso. We've got, like, so much stuff going on that he literally is like, goddamn. And so it's really nice to see him kind of pull through at this point. And I think kind of what Emily was saying, like, what else does he have to lose? Like, this is his only source of redemption, and it's right in front of him. Like, after knowing that Sukuna did all of these awful things in his body, he clearly feels very guilty about it because it was his body that took those actions. But he is still strong enough to realize that he can still continue to make the world a better place by doing something right here and right now. And I think that's what's most important about this fight scene, is that he's not backing down from the challenge of moving forward in working through some of that trauma in this fight.
Yeah, they're both gambling in this fight because they're pulling out all the stops, and both Mahito and Yuji are in this fight with the intention to kill the other person, and they don't want to, like, have it end as a draw. They don't want to have it end as, like, oh, one's seriously injured. Like, they both want the other to be dead, and they're willing to do whatever it takes, essentially, is the way I read it. It's getting pretty intense, though, but Todo is back. Last we saw, just a few minutes ago, he was passed out, but he is back. And he mocks Mahito for not understanding that he doesn't need his physical hands to activate his technique. Although his boogie woogie is dead. Rib. Little tear shed over that one. He does confuse Mahito. Now, I'm not sure if I completely didn't understand what was going on, but he claps, but Yuji didn't, like, no one switched places. So I'm not exactly sure what he did. You can answer that question if you want. But Yuji comes swinging with another black flash. Holy frick, go Yuji. And Mahito seems to finally be worn down. And he also mentions that his stock of transferred humans is out. Yuji then states with a new type of darkness in his eyes that he will accept what Mahito said earlier. He wanted to reject it, but at the end of the day, quote, I am you. He declares he will kill him, even if he is reborn as a curse. Chills, anybody?
Yeah, this was just so good. Watching Yuji finally kind of accept what Mahito said, and not that, like, they're the same in the sense of, like, they are the same, like, in value wise, but they're the same in practice of, like, they are going to do whatever it takes to get to their endpoint goal, and their endpoint goal is only justified by the means of what they've gone through at this point. And I think that's what that really means now that we've kind of come through to this final scene of this fight, is, like, they're now able to, like, see what he meant by that statement. And even though that statement was really ominous and that statement was really, like, what are you talking about? It was more so something that was like really honestly true about Yuji and his character.
So to answer your question, they straight up just like juked him out.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, was that a fake out or did something happen?
Yeah, they just faked him out, which was really, really smart. And again, a gamble that like he believed them. But all it took was that moment of hesitation for Yuji to be able to land that Black Flash. So that was just like, again, quick thinking on the part of our boys. But it's enough to kind of like appear to seal the deal here. And this interaction between Yuji and Mahito is really interesting. He's like, you know what, fine, like, I am you. But something that's interesting here, and that I first noticed in the manga, and that they animated again here, that like is important, I think, to pay attention to here and in the future, is the way that Yuji is drawn. Because not only is like the look in his eyes more, and we've seen that like the light has gone from his eyes over the course of this, but something else that's interesting about the way that he looks is that his hair is drawn like Sukuna's hair. It's not like it, you know, the difference is that like Sukuna's goes up and Yuji's like goes down kind of thing. And so like this is Yuji right now, but I feel like details like that are important to notice, because it's like, how much are these two melding together, and are we possibly hearing a little bit of Sukuna in this moment too? We don't know too much about Yuji's cursed technique yet, except for like when Sukuna has come out to play. And it's like, I do think that there is more to it than that. I have my theories, but I thought that it was interesting that it looked like they were melding the two characters together for this particular scene. And that, so not only was Yuji landing these final blows essentially on Mahito in this moment, but this almost felt to me like Sukuna's answer from before, where he's not acknowledging Mahito. It's like not even worth it. And then here he kind of is like peeking his ugly face out to say like, I knew this was going to happen, you worthless slime, kind of thing. Or is Yuji kind of sharing a little bit of Sukuna's ideals from like having him inside of his body, as far as at least wiping out some of these useless curses? I don't know. It's hard to say, like, if the line is becoming a little bit more blurry, but I thought that was a really interesting choice.
I like that you called out the hair, because I also noticed the like teeth showing on the side of his mouth looked to be in a place that was not like, oh, there's just a hole in his skin and we're seeing the side of his teeth. It looked like it could have been like one of Sukuna's mouths showing through. And I did like briefly think, I'm like, I wonder if this is like partially Sukuna talking, partially Yuji talking. I'm kind of interested to see if there will be more information about that moment later on. Again, I'll talk a little bit about my plans now that the show is winding down. But I want to talk about the scene that follows, because this was a really interesting scene to me. It was fantastically done, and it shows this snowy landscape, which it's like they transported the characters into a snowy landscape where Mahito is running from Yuji, but Mahito is a hare and Yuji is a wolf. I have a lot of thoughts about how they decided to show this, but it was like a hunter chasing their prey. But I'll let you guys talk about it.
Oh yeah, I mean, this was haunting in the manga, and definitely again, and part of it is like definitely a hunter and prey. I don't even know if I'd super call it a chase myself though, because Mahito is the one that's like running and desperate and like crying, which was so nice to see after everything that's happened this season. And Yuji just like walks like really, really slowly. And we know that this is like a conjured thing. So like whether it's a figment of the imagination, because it also cuts and we do see them like still in Shibuya, like exactly where they were, but like Mahito is still crawling away. So little theory for me, this is not confirmed nor denied in the manga yet, as far as I know, but like we still don't know that much about Yuji's technique. And I think that it's possible that this could be his domain expansion. I think it's possible that he could make one that other people can't see. Maybe it looks something like this. We've seen like some variations. You know, we saw like a beach that Dagon was able to conjure. And so I think that it's interesting that it could be like this snowy, wintry landscape where Yuji is like this predator inside of it. I don't know. That is not confirmed nor denied. That is strictly my theory, but it makes me wonder, like, about like his true technique and what a domain expansion could look like, and I wonder if this is our first glance at it, because it's scary. Because it's so still and peaceful, but there's like a lot of unease in the stillness of this scene.
Yeah, I thought the scene was really great. I thought it really portrayed kind of the overarching, like, I feel like climax line, or what is that? The plot line here. Because the entire time of Shibuya, they've been chasing after each other. And so the chase has finally come to a close, in which the prey is really being honed in on by their hunter. And I think this is just an amazing way to show, like, that this scene is closing out, and that, like, who was really the hunter and who was really the prey the entire time. And it's true that ever since that very first, like, encounter in Junpei, like, he has been wanting to get after Mahito, and he's right here. And so now, like, he has, like, accepted kind of the reality that he's going to do whatever it takes to take him down. So I think that's exactly what was needed in this moment, is like this really calm, beautiful, yet disturbing almost scene where you knew he was so angry. It was a silent anger at that point. And that's what's the most scary about this. I don't know if I necessarily concur in the sense that it's his domain expansion. Maybe it was just more so of a comparison and just like a beautiful scene. I don't have many thoughts on Yuji's curse technique or his domain expansion yet. I try to theorize about things, but also I'm not really good at like making theories about anime. I'm really bad at like trying to make predictions and stuff like that. So I don't know, but I do like the idea of it being some sort of like customizable domain expansion, if you will, like hunter and prey, or like two like beasts fighting it out, if you will. If, you know, like, I don't know, like Megami and Yuji were to ever to fight, like, I feel like they're more of like beasts in comparison to each other. So I think that's kind of an interesting thing to think about.
I just liked watching how it's felt like Mahito's been the hunter this entire time, and that Yuji has just been the bleeding animal in front of him, and to see those roles reversed, but to have it be such a direct analogy to a hunter and prey, as Yuji just kind of stood there and looked at him while like Mahito scurried away. There was something so satisfying but also eerie about it, that like my eyes were just glued to the screen. Like I could not look away, which I can't do with anime anyway because I'm reading the subtitles, but there wasn't any speaking happening. So usually when there's no speaking, it's easier to kind of be like distracted by something else happening, you know, in the room or whatever, but you're just like I was just like staring because it was so interesting to see where they were taking this. But I don't know if it's Yuji's domain expansion. I never even thought that could be it, but if that was, Emily, that's a pretty cool prediction that you got going on there. So I guess we'll find out later. But it looks like finally Yuji is going to kill Mahito. He gave him a punch at full force. He did miss. I'm sitting here kicking my feet. I'm smiling. I'm squealing. I'm like, this is what I've been waiting for this entire season. But like JJK does so well, it's not over. Pseudo Geto is here, and he is offering to save him. I have never screamed at the TV like I did when he showed up.
What can I say besides, literally, I have a hot take, and I talked about this with Noah before. I think that this was extremely anticlimactic. And I think that I didn't like that Pseudo Geto showed up, to be honest. I thought that it would have been so much more fulfilling had Yuji been able to finish the job. However, I see, and we'll talk about this in our next episode, as to why it happened, and I get like that point of it, but also I just didn't like that it happened, because I felt like it would have been so much nicer to see like that arc come to a close. But I guess it is more realistic that sometimes you don't always get closure in life, and that's something that you have to take closure with on your own.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to save most of my thoughts for the next episode, but another theory of mine is like, I mean, obviously this was super annoying. I would have loved to see Yuji just finish it off too, but so far it seems like Gege has been pretty intentional with things. There's not a lot of loops that like seem like they don't get brought back up if they aren't closed. And so that leads me to think that, like, we're not done with Mahito in this story yet. Or at least, like, yeah, we'll talk about it more in the next episode. I have thoughts, but we're definitely not done with him for this episode. So we're gonna have to see him next week, find out.
I do agree, like, it pulled the rug out from underneath my feet for sure, and was very frustrating. I don't know if I'd call it anticlimactic, because I think JJK this season has very much established itself as it's gonna pull the rug out from under your feet multiple times, and when you just think you're gonna get satisfied, you're not. I do definitely agree, though. I wish Yuji had just been able to finish him in this moment, and we'll talk about more about it next week with the episode, but very interesting, very annoying. Any final thoughts before we move into our favorite moments? Well, I will go first. There were a lot of scenes in this episode that I genuinely enjoyed, which I'm happy to report after a string of episodes that I hated, where it genuinely was hard to find a favorite moment. I had to think on this one, so that's kind of nice. But I will say, I think the moment I felt was best was when Todo showed up at, like, in the final push against Mahito and kind of faked Mahito out, and then Yuji using the Black Flash after that. At his own will, again and again, I just got chills. I've said it before, I really like their teamwork. I enjoyed their teamwork in season 1. This is bringing back all of my love for that I had in the last season, so I'm really happy to see them working so well together and taking gambles, and I did get some chills when Todo was like, you think I just need my hands to do it?
I completely agree. I think that Todo stole the show. And I think he does anytime he's on screen. So I love him, and I hope we get more time with him in the future. I think mine was a Todo moment as well, and it was when he activated the technique against Mahito's hand. That was a huge risk in and of itself. That could have very easily ended up in, like, another really tragic character death. Unfortunately, it did not this time around. He got messed up pretty good, but what quick thinking. And honestly, I didn't realize that it would work that way, that it, like, just needed 2 hands rather than, like, both needed to be his own, if that makes sense. I thought that was really interesting and something that I think I just hadn't seen until this episode. And, like, Mahito must have been so upset to have gotten used like that I just got such a kick out of it. But, like, anytime Todo is on screen is a good moment for me.
I can make your hands clap.
Perfect clapping, guys.
The way we just all were like, yep, I'm on it.
And you guys were all in rhythm too. I love that. Yeah, I think, honestly, thinking about, like, Todo's life with the clapping, like, I saw this TikTok that was like 3rd grade Todo clapping in class, and he's like clapping outside to the park and stuff, and I was like, this is so funny.
He's just, like, trying to clap for someone at school, and he's just, like, switching around. He's like, what?
It was so good. I loved it. I think that, honestly, the idol scene, like I said, had to be my favorite moment. I love when, like, they kind of go Sailor Moon style on something, and especially for Todo, right? Like, it's such just, like, a contrast between what we would expect from him, from, like, this big masculine man, to him doing, like, a Sailor Scout power-up. It's just really cool to watch, so I think that was definitely my favorite moment of the episode.
All good moments. So glad we can finally be like, oh, I really liked this moment and that moment, rather than be like, there was nothing good about this episode, all I know is pain. Glad that we're a little bit out of that. But that being said, it is time for our Shibuya secret. Now, I have kind of left some little pebbles of information for y'all, but this is going to be regarding my future with Jujutsu Kaisen, since we're coming to the end of the season. The day that we're recording this is actually we're missing out on watching the final episode, because it just hit Crunchyroll like 30 minutes ago. But this one is a little fun. Since Christmas was a few days ago, I wanted to shout out my friends for my Christmas gift this year. As many of you may know, I am the only anime only for this show in this group specifically. Brian and Emily have been trying to get me to read this manga for literally the last 6 months since the season started, but I've been holding out so strong. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna fall into it. I have mentioned that I was waiting for a sign, quote, to pick it up. And the sign was really that every time I go manga shopping, which I go to Barnes & Noble pretty often, if the volume that I needed to pick up was there, I would buy it and I would start it. But that has yet to happen. Emily took fate into her own hands here, and she was just like, all right, Here's the volume you need. So she got me volume 16 and 17 for Christmas, which are I think the end of Shibuya is a little bit ways into volume 16. So not only can I pick up directly after, I can continue on a little bit. I do have Shonen Jump, so I don't know why I'm making this so complicated. But thank you, Emily. I will officially become a manga reader starting probably tomorrow, because once I watch the episode that aired today, I'm sure I'm going to be I need to start this manga now. I'm excited to finally have some knowledge of the future of the story and ride along with everyone else who is, getting these weekly chapters. I've never read a manga that is coming out weekly. I've only read mangas that were finished by the time I read them. So we'll see what happens, but I'm excited. But that is all the time that we have for this week.
Thank you so much for watching today's episode of the Hashira Half Hour. We hope that you enjoyed. As always, you can check us out on Spotify if that's where you're listening to us. Give us a download of the podcast. We're on Apple Podcasts as well. We are on all social media at Hashira Half Hour, except for Twitter. We're Hashira Half on there. And thank you again to the sponsor of today's video, Tokyo Treat. If you're interested in getting your own Tokyo Treat box, check out the link in the description below and use code Hashira for $5 off your first box.
Till next week. Yo aimo.
Yo aimo.
Yo, I'm